Okay, with this video, I just wanted to do a quick disclaimer before we get into it. I'm not going to be showing off a lot of species in depth. I'm saving them for future videos where I'm going to do an in-depth look at each family or genus. And that's just because I want to get them out and show you them in person. During the day, you won't find many of these tarantulas or these spiders out. During the night is kind of when a lot of spiders will feed, so they'll be at the entrance of their burrow waiting for food. Some will be wandering around. Even the burrowing cockroaches that I've got will be out and about during the night. So I might get some nighttime footage to put in, but I apologize in advance if there's a few species that you really want to see. Just be patient, and I'll get some videos out in the future where we really get a good look at each species and each spider. I believe the next video I'll do is a real close look at my tarantula collection as a whole, and then from there we can expand out to different families of trapdoors and wishbone spiders, things like that too. Okay, so here we have my desk, where I do most of the rehousings and videos. You can see I have my camera set up there. Last night I did a separate video on rehousing these few species, so you'll see that next video. And here is my largest enclosure. You can see it's got quite a lot of live plants, ferns, maidenhair fern, and native violet, and a lot of mosses through there. And I don't have any spiders in this one. I have probably 6 or 7 equiteus species of harvestmen, and they can be often quite difficult to see. They can kind of congregate around each other, and especially during feeding times, they'll be attracted to the food, and during the night you can see them a lot more readily. I don't really have any plans for introducing any other animals. I just kind of like the enclosure for the plants. Okay, and just over here in the corner I have a little container of dirt which I use mostly as a set for taking photos. I'm probably going to get a bigger container of dirt that's a lot more wide. Just gives me a bit more room to work with, but it's been working well so far. And then here I just have a male Tritomys xerophylla and the female in here. So I've attempted to pair them up before, but it hasn't been successful, so I'm just going to keep trying and see if I can get them to pair up. And here we have the main shelf where most of my species are kept. On the top, it is pretty much exclusively tarantulas, although there is a Stanwellia there in the middle, up there. And yeah, you can see I've put some lights in. The round ones are purely for visual purposes to make the enclosures stand out a bit more. And the bars are actually for plant growth. So I will be reshuffling the setup a little bit because I've had a few tarantulas molt out as male. I have my male Serena in here who I've paired up with a female a few times. And once he moves along, I'll open this space up and put something else there. I did have a similar enclosure, the same one as these, just here. But again, that was a male Cotsman that who I've passed along to breed. So here on the top shelf, I have a few tarantulas. Most of the smaller ones, kind of juveniles. So here we have my Phologius PQ113. It's in its burrow right there. Back there is the leg of a Coremionemus tropics. And I have another one here. This one's much larger. And they've both been paired last year. I got an egg sac from this one, but I'm looking to breed them again this year, provided that I find a male, as I don't have a male. And here we have Selenotipus banana. This is my SP1 Ember. Apis Creek, just here. You can see there, that's one of my cuttable slings. And there's SB2, SB3, another PQ113. In there we have a Wallace that is kind of overgrown with mold a little bit. And in this one is a Hirsutus. Okay, here we have a small Phlogius Cape Gloucester. And in here, there is a Hans Rivers Strenus. There's the PQ113. And the cuttable again. Okay, and we have a Pseudocrassibes here. And next to that, we have the Champagne Robustus. This one will be getting an enclosure upgrade soon. She's put on a decent amount of size. I want to give her a much deeper burrow and allow her to dig a bit more. I do have a spare one of these Komodos that is the, it's probably double the height, but still kind of the same width. I've kind of moved away from using these because it's quite a pain to either replace the lids with acrylic to block off all of that ventilation, Because when you get them, you just get these lids, and they're very highly ventilated, and it dries out the enclosure very quickly, which can be dangerous for the spider. Okay, moving on to the second level. This closure, we have a large female Flinders Range scorpion. I've had her for many years. She's quite an old girl. She was pretty much max size when I got her quite a number of years ago. I have some smaller Flinders Range scorpions up here, Urodacus elongatus. And I just have a few of my slings here at the moment. I have some Hodgicosta foresti wolf spiders. You can see one just in there. It's out and about. Often they'll be in their burrow. I have some young Prussia marker, Arbonitis gracilis, and a number of these Cataxia babindaensis slings. Moving back, I have a couple of these Idiosoma slings, and in here we have Hadronici leopard gregae. And here we have another Arbonitis. This one's from Barring Bar. And yeah, back there, another Barring Bar. And I have a few of my Euoplis here. So this one is Variabilis. And this one here is a small Similaris. And this one is Grandis. And then here I have a number of these Ixomatus caldera. Now, Ixomatus is a very interesting genus to me. I absolutely love them. I find them fascinating. These ones I collected somewhat locally, and I was hoping to have gotten a male. I was thinking that this one in here would mature male, but it's recently molted, and it is a female. I'll just show one off. Yeah, so they have those beautiful spotty abdomens and some light gold along them, and they reach a decent size. This one is not my biggest one, but I just find them beautiful. One of the interesting things about this particular species is that it's very adaptable. I've found them burrowing under logs and rocks, but also in clay embankments, creating long kind of burrow systems. So they're quite adaptable in terms of their burrow structure and their habitats as well. Okay, so on the next shelf, I have back here an Atrax York Manorum. Another Arbonitis Barring Bar. These two are interesting. This is one of my Secocrypta jacaras in here. A very interesting species. Again, I'm probably going to rehouse them. as it doesn't quite utilize the depth that I've given it. So I'll probably give it a bit of a smaller enclosure. And I have another Euoplis here. Down here I have two different Arbonita species. This one is Honeybee, and it's a lid builder. You can see just here it's a lid made out of a bit of clay and a bit of moss. I think they're pretty closely related to Arbonitis gracilis. I have an Arbonitis from Styx River here, and another one here. You can see its open burrow there. I have a Hadronychy species, most likely Macquariensis, but it's from Glen Ray, and apparently it has quite a different burrow structure, so I'm not too sure the exact species of it, but it's likely Macquariensis. And a small Hadronychy from Bateman's Bay in there. Moving back here, I have my largest Euoplis. It's a Euoplis regalis, and she's probably pushing about a 90mm leg span. So you can see her burrow right there in the middle. She's got a clay lid with some moss growing over the top there. In this one next to it, I have a Proschomachus species that's burrowed down there, and I'm assuming will be molting, but potentially could be laying an egg sac. So it's been down there for a little bit. To the left here, I have a large Hadronychy valida, and this one I've personally collected a while ago and has gone through 2 or 3 molts with me and put on a lot of size. She's a very interesting spider. I often will see her out here remodeling her enclosure, moving around rocks and dirt, and then she'll retreat during the day down to her burrow. In here we have a Selenotypus from Bowen. And then in this section here, I've just got a few of my Barrichellidae. They're generally a pretty small species, so they don't need too much room, and they don't really dig very deep either. So I have a few Oseocrypta reticulata here in these two. I have a Secocrypta from northern New South Wales in Iluka. And the other ones are one of my favorite species of spider to keep, Mangelia commoni. So that's this one, this one, this one, and I have a sling here. One of my favorite species. I'm going to do a showcase video on them. I just love their feeding responses, and they're just really interesting to keep. And hopefully I'll be able to breed them, because I had a male mature out, which is in this enclosure here. I was checking on him, and I hadn't noticed too much movement from it, and I noticed that it was actually a male. So I've tried to pair him up with a couple, and hasn't been successful so far, but I'll just keep working at it and see if I get a successful pairing. And moving down to the bottom, in here I have some of my giant burrowing cockroaches. I can do a bit of a showcase video on them, but I am planning to upgrade them into a better enclosure. I'd like to do a bit of a glass display with them to showcase the burrows that they make. But they're very active at night. At night they'll come in and they'll collect any dried leaves and they'll pull them into their burrows, and and eat the gum leaves there. In there I have some black rock scorpions, and I have some lycus in here. This one is a communal setup, as they're quite small, and they're pretty common to find communally, and they seem to do really well. A few of these enclosures you might have seen already if you've seen some of my other content. In this one we have a Euoplis that I've collected from nearby. I have another Ixomatus. This one is from, I believe, Cairns. And it's molted quite a few times with me. You can see it's about to go into another molt. It's got a swollen abdomen there. Have a Namius species in here. Cataxia Vermont in there, which I've allowed to burrow into a bit of a partially rotten log and clay substrate to kind of mimic their natural habitat. I have two Stanwellia up here, and I have a young Atrax robustus here, which is also known as the Sydney funnelweb. Okay, moving on, I keep a few of my swings kind of just in one of these containers, just to kind of keep them at a good temperature and just to keep them a little bit more confined. So I have here, I won't go through all of them, but here is it's a little ruby setter swing that I've got. You can see X-Vale, Nebo, Cape Gloucester, and a few other tarantula swings in there too. I have some of my larger tarantulas in these type of containers. In this one I have a species 2.5. You can see it burrowed down there. In this one I have a Riverland Sterling Eye. And she'd be burrowed right down the bottom there. And this one is my Gemfields from the last video, and she's completely sealed off her burrow there. Okay, moving on up here, I just wanted to show off my curtain web spiders. This one I have a Cephegus from Woomba and Australothele nambucca in this one. And they're both fairly small at the moment, although you can see they really web up quite a lot. So that's why even a small spider of these species would need a bit of a larger enclosure. Okay, back here, I just have another Euoplis. I have, in this one, a scorpion, a rainforest scorpion that kind of lives in this bioactive planted enclosure. In this one I have a Cataxia, and I have a Gracillus in this one. And here we have a Namius species. Another Ixomatus in here. And in this one, an Idiosoma. So in this one, I have a couple more. I have a tarantula here. Another curtain web spider just here. That's Australothele jamesoni. I have a few other enclosures here of species that I don't really want to talk about too much yet because They're fairly new, and I'm still trying to work out their husbandry, and they're kind of part of a breeding program that I don't really want to talk too much about. But I have an enclosure here of another one of my Arbonitis species. I'd hoped that it would burrow into the starter burrow right in the middle there, but it's chosen to burrow around the side here, around the fern, and right down the bottom. And you can see it's weaved together a few leaves, and it just kind of pops out the top there. Okay, here we have a few more of Arbonitis from different areas. This one again is from Burring Bar. I have maybe 5 or 6 of the species. This one is from Carnarvon Gorge. And back here I have a Hadronychi valida, another one. So I have quite a lot of the same species, or multiples of the same species, I should say. I have another curtain web here. This one is Coraea foveolata. This is an interesting species. It's virtually identical to the other curtain webs, although it lacks any foveal groove. And this one is just a juvenile too. I did actually have a mature male of this one, but it passed on pretty quickly. Here we have a few more Euoplis. Back there is my large female Phlogius cuttable. And I have a species black in here, young Phlogius species black. And there is a Serena. She's come out of her burrow to greet us. Okay, and down on the bottom shelf I have my female ruby setter, and on the left there is the Selenotypus rose plumipes. And here I have the mature male ruby setter. Now I believe the pairings may have been successful. I'm a little bit concerned that the female will molt out, but regardless, I'm going to send this male off to another breeder. Okay, and just in this little pocket here, I have another Idiosoma. I've got my feeders here. Got some spare enclosures there and a container of crickets. And I have 2 more tarantulas here. This one is a Hirsutus, and this one is a young Serena. And then I just have an empty enclosure here that's full of springtails and millipedes and other animals that have found their way in there in the soil. Here's some of the spiders I keep just out in the living room. I have another Gemfields here, an Exphale. You can see just on the top there, hanging out. I have a little Phlogius stance in here, and another SP4. Like I said before, Moving forward, I'll be providing a more in-depth look at the species that I show. I'll show their enclosure and talk a bit more about their husbandry and their behaviors as well. This is just kind of a brief overview of my collection. I'd like to do a more in-depth look at my tarantula collection as a whole, and I'll really get to showcase a few of the species that I've got that I really think are quite fascinating and pretty proud of. And I'll talk a bit more about breeding projects that I have with tarantulas. There's a few that I have paired up and will be pairing up soon. And then there's others that if I can find a male, I will be pairing them up. But yeah, that's the issue, is always finding a male. If you have any video requests or any particular species you want to get a good look at, just let me know. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it and look forward to more videos in the future.